Welcome everyone to our last week of class. This is exciting. We're nearing the end. This is your last module, your last process book, and this week you'll be turning in your final project. So you're close to the finish line. In this video, we're just going to go over what you need to do this week to wrap up the class and make sure you have everything ready to go. Okay, so week 14. The first thing you'll be doing in the process book is just wrapping up your final project. The project we're working on, the general conference booklet. So on this page, step 8, you're just going to be putting your final document, just like we've done in the weeks past, just your finalized version, back cover, front cover, and then the inner pages of it. So just straight dropping the PDF into here so we can see all the pages laid out. The next step will be making the digital comps. So because this is a booklet, obviously we can't see the whole thing in one mock-up, in one comp. So the process book gives you 3 pages. I don't know why it only shows you an example on the second one, but there are 3 slots in your book to show 3 different mock-ups. The mock-ups you choose are up to you. It might be nice to have one that shows the cover of the book, maybe front and back. Maybe this one shows the first spread and this shows the last spread. Just so we have a sampling of 3 different views, 3 different mock-ups of your book. And there are plenty of mock-ups out there for pamphlets. I can try and post some links in this announcement post. I'll see what I can find that might be helpful to you. But just look for, again, really simple mock-ups are best. I've noticed that in the past when some people have turned things in, sometimes the mock-up almost gets a little distracting. It might be your design document, but around it are so many other elements that the viewer kind of forgets to focus on the document. So just remember to keep this simple, plain background. This is a good example. Have the focus be on the document and not on what's in the background. We want all the focus to highlight your work. So you're going to choose 3 mock-ups and plug them in here for step 9. Let's see. Step 10 now is going to be the complete book. This is not a mock-up. So these following pages are just, if you save your pamphlet as a PDF, you can just drop the PDF pages in here. So again, this is not a mock-up. This is step 10 is more similar to this step right here. It's basically this, but we want it to see it large so we can look at the whole spread up close. So cover, inside front cover, first spread, etc., etc. Second spread, third spread, all the way down, and then your back cover. So again, the best way to do this would probably be just to save your general conference booklet as a PDF and then just drop the pages into here, place them into these blank slots. And that is the end of our last project. Okay, so to wrap up the process book, you're going to finish this Ponder module for week 14. And now comes the fun part when we're going to take all weeks 1 through 14, all these chapters we've been working on in the process book every week, and we're going to combine them into one final PDF process book. One final book that shows all the work you've done in this class. So to make this, there are 2 ways. So on this module, they discussed the first way, which would be to make an InDesign book. So as it says, a book document is a special kind of InDesign file where you can take lots of other files, PDFs or InDesign, and combine them together. So it shows you how to do it. File, new book, and you can follow along right here. So when you go to InDesign, you go File, New, but you choose Book instead of Document. And then you can name the book, choose a location, just put my desktop. Okay, and then this little window will pop up. You won't have a new document brought up, it'll just be this little window right here, this dialog box. So now what you would do is, if you hover over this plus, it says Add Documents. So I'd go here, and I choose all of my previous weeks of process book chapters. So I'll just choose this one to start with. So this is week 9. So I would go in order if I were you. This is just for example's sake. I'll choose the week 9 one, open it, and you can see it's now appears in this little dialog box here. So I just do that for all of my chapters. So let's see, let's add another one. Let's add week 14, open. Mine was asking me to resave the files. I'm not sure why, but if you need to, just save another version of it. And now we see that we have 2 files in here. So once you have all of them, you should have 14 different InDesign files when you're done. And if you need to move them around, you can just grab them and move them like that, and it'll show you this file is page 1 through 7, 8 through 20, and it'll just go all the way down. When you're done adding all your files in here, you go to this button, Save the Book, and we've already titled it and chosen location. That was the first thing we did. So now it should be saved on my desktop. And just make sure it's a PDF, high quality file size, because that's what you'll be uploading to the iLearn this week to submit your final process book. So that's option 1. That's making a process book through InDesign. I actually like to combine documents a different way. I'll show you this one in case you want to use this. So I use Acrobat Pro, and I find this just to be a little bit simpler. Since you already have all your documents saved as PDFs because you submit them as PDFs every week, I would just do combine files into PDF, and that will bring up it's taking its time. Alright, that'll bring up this window. And here you can literally drag and drop your files. So you can go choose your files, find all those PDFs that you've been submitting, and then just drag them over here into this window. And when you have all the PDFs here, week 1 through 14, you can hit Combine Files down here, and it will produce one big PDF of all your existing files. So that's another option to do it that way. So just pick one of those 2 ways, make your book, your giant process book. Here it says to update the table of contents. In the last class I taught, they had given the students a table of contents pages. I couldn't find one in this typography class, so I'm going to say just leave this alone. Don't worry about it unless you want to add a table of contents. I would just skip that. Just upload the different chapters as they are, combine them into one book. I would, however, make a cover. It doesn't say to do that here, but just it would be nice if at the beginning of the document it said process book, typography 230, something like that with your name on it, just for your own records and in case you ever want this in a portfolio. It'd be nice just to have a cover. And you could just design that cover in InDesign, save it the same way, and add it just like you add the chapters as we discussed earlier when you combine the PDF. So again, you can ignore this table of contents unless you want to make one. I would add a cover. It can be very basic, very simple, with your name, the class, title, process book, and then export it as a PDF and upload it to Canvas, and that will be your last assignment. It should have all weeks 1 through 14, including this week, in a single PDF. And here are more specifications. Make sure the resolution's high enough, all those things. Make sure everything is in there and up to date and completed, and submit it, and that will be the last thing you need to do for the process book. Yeah, and that's pretty much wraps up our course. I was working on grading a lot this weekend to try and catch up on anything that I've been falling short on with the grading. So your grade should be up to date. Obviously your last project isn't in there yet because it hasn't been submitted. But this week, if you could just take a moment, look at your grades, make sure everything looks right to you. If something isn't right, if you're missing an assignment, that should be there, or I gave you a 0 but you know you submitted it, or even if you've emailed me at some point this semester because of outstanding circumstances, you need an extension, and I didn't catch that in the gradebook, make sure you just talk to me about those things now before the grades are due at the end of this week, because I need to submit the grades coming up here pretty soon. Just, I believe it's the end of the week, right after the class ends. So it's a pretty quick turnaround, so just make sure you're up to date and looking out for any errors in the gradebook, and talk to me about them as soon as possible so I can make sure to make the changes so everyone is happy with their grades. So I think that's about it, and of course I'm always accessible by email if you want some feedback. I'm here to help. So good luck in this final week.